Today we ask the question, what is the good life? In 2002, Dr. Martin Seligman, one of the founding fathers of positive psychology, introduced the theory of well-being. In his theory, he introduced PERMA, which proposed that there were 5 pillars to human flourishing. Those 5 pillars were positive emotion, engagement, relationships, meaning, and accomplishment. Today, I welcome guest Grace Lougen from Buffalo, New York. She's a singer-songwriter, incredible. And also Robert Mostyn of Rock Game Development. He's a video game developer. And we're going to talk about flourishing and achievement, flourishing in the video game industry. This is episode 28 of Afternoon Cocktail. I'm your host, Amanda Ashley, and we welcome you to our second part of season 2. Thank you for tuning in. Introducing to you all Miss Grace Lougen of Buffalo, New York. Grace, how you doing?
Hi, Amanda. Thanks for having me. How are you doing?
Hey, thank you for being a part of this. It's awesome to see you again and to be connected. What are you going to play for us?
I'm going to play an original tune called Made a Mess to start us off here.
Awesome. Take it away.
Beginning here, but somehow everything you do stays the same. Well, this heart is like a home that you've left behind. The grass is long and pain is wet 'cause you're always gone. Roasted over, yeah. You made a mess of me, and then you left. Took my heart in both your hands, and never gave them back. You made a mess of me, and then you left. Took my heart in both your hands, and never gave them back. Jesus said to forgive you 500 times. Well, I've lost count, but this one feels like number 499. Well, I'm here to love you as I've been loved myself. But you treat me like an angel would, and then you shoot me down. My love is roasted over, yeah. You made a mess of me, and then you left. Took my heart in both your hands, and never gave them back. You made a mess of me, and then you left. Took my heart in both your hands, and never gave them back. Of me, and then you left. Took my heart in both your hands, and never gave them back. You made a mess of me, and then you left. again coming back. You met my soulmate, and then you left. Took my heart in both your hands, never again coming back. You met my soulmate, and then you left. Took my heart in both your hands, never again coming back.
Love it, Grace. So funky. I love it. So, Grace, tell us a little bit about you and your background. I mean, when did you first start? When was the first time you picked up a guitar?
Well, I always had a guitar because my dad's a guitar player, so I've had one for as long as I can remember. So I don't. It's just been a part of life growing up. You have dinner with the family, you watch a movie, you play music. It's just a part of living. So.
That's so awesome. So you come from a family of musicians, not just your father?
Yeah. A lot of people on my dad's side of the family actually play music. My great grandpa was a bass player, I guess, played lots of gigs. We were just going through the family history and found a lot of interesting things out about musicians in the family. I guess my great uncle, Tony Shabetta, wrote a song for Tony Bennett, which I didn't know was from Manhattan. Yeah, so I thought that was really cool. A lot of
Totally.
Good. He's a piano player, and there's bass players, mandolin player. So it's really cool. Yeah, on my dad's side.
So fun. I love it. I couldn't imagine, like, I mean, I didn't grow up in a musical family at all, but
Really?
it's got to be a really fun environment to be brought up in. Or, I mean, was it really fun, or did you feel more pressure to become a musician because of it?
No, I never felt any pressure at all. I never even considered really being a musician, like a professional musician, until I just started sitting in with people and playing live. But there was never any pressure. I thought I was going to be like an athlete or something. I never thought I'd be a musician. So
Do you play sports?
I did. I tried a lot of different things, and I just thought that that's what I would end up doing. But music and athletics are kind of similar in a way, sort of. I think. I don't know, in that it's kind of it's physical, but it's also kind of a spiritual. You got to dig deep for it. So.
Sure, I definitely agree with that. I mean, I'm not athletic at all, but I could see that, you know, in a lot of the athletes that I've spoken with and that I know, there's that motivational factor, right, that gets built into it, and a lot of, you know, it's goals, you know, achieving your goals and working hard towards achieving what you're striving for. I see those similarities for sure. I mean, you've done a lot. I mean, since I probably first met you, I don't know, I want to say like 7 years ago, I'm guessing. It was a little while ago.
Right?
Yeah,
Yes,
I remember,
remember.
Mr. Johnny Rock introduced us, and you were playing with Grace Stumberg, and who's a former Afternoon Cocktail alum. Also, you played with David, right? David Miller. I saw you guys just recorded something.
Yeah, it was a little while ago now, but actually, that song that I just played, I had him sing in the studio,
Okay.
so we did like a collaboration on it. So it was very cool. Yeah.
That's so awesome. Both extraordinary musicians and really awesome people. So I got to ask you. So you've shared the stage with some pretty awesome people, aside from David, Michael Miller, and Grace. I mean, you've shared the stage with national acts such as the Indigo Girls, Albert Cummings. You had Devin Allman, Will McFarlane, Leon Russell, which was so cool to me. The late Leon Russell. I actually had the opportunity to see him thanks to some amazing friends in Memphis, Tennessee. So close to stage, and it was right before he passed. I mean, what do you have any really fond experiences? Did you ever get to meet any of them head on and, you know, have a fun exchange?
Yeah. I met Leon very briefly, unfortunately, but I did get to. It was me and Grace that opened for him, and we got to see him and the band and everything, hang out. All the people I did get to hang with a lot. Will McFarlane. A lot of people don't really recognize his name, but he toured with Bonnie Raitt as her guitar player for 7 years, and he works a lot in Muscle Shoals in the studio as a studio musician. So he's on a lot of different records and everything. And being around him was really special when I was starting out. I did a show with him when I was 18, and we went into the studio and recorded a few tracks, and he really took control and kind of was able to direct the band and tell them all what needed to get done, and he charted everything out in a Nashville chart system, which is where you use numbers instead of letters for the chords, and it was just really cool to, I kind of considered him a mentor early on, because even though I only got to hang out with him a few days, but it was really cool to see a guitar player so accomplished and so professional, just knowing exactly what to do in the studio and live. So that was really special.
Sure. Yeah, that seems awesome, and yeah, I'm sure that was extremely inspirational. I mean, today we're talking about flourishing. That's our theme, and I look at you as somebody who's achieved quite a bit, and the short amount of time that I've known you, and I mean, you're continuing to climb upward. Your gift has made quite the impression on the Buffalo music scene. I mean, I see you collaborating with some really incredible artists and on various projects. I mean, different genres. Is there anything, I mean, is there a genre that you haven't covered yet that you would like to, devour in time?
um, yeah, I've done a lot of genres, mostly like singer-songwriter stuff, rock, pop, folk. But I have done a little bit of jazz, and I know so many jazz cats in Buffalo. There's a really good jazz scene, and I would love to get into that more. I've been kind of calling them up and getting advice, because it's a whole different world. Every genre, of course, has its just challenges and different things, and I've been trying to learn a lot about that, so I can glean a lot of information from these amazing musicians that we have in Buffalo.
Sure. You definitely have that out there. We're so fortunate in Western New York. I mean, in doing these interviews on Afternoon Cocktail, I just realized, I mean, Buffalo has its own scene, and Rochester here, we're very fortunate with a lot of gifted people. Syracuse, too. I mean, I've met some extraordinary people as well. It's Western New York. Everybody thinks of New York as being New York City, but we got a lot going on out here. It's pretty impressive.
Definitely.
I mean, going back to talking about accomplishments, that was part of the perma theory that I had mentioned earlier from Dr. Martin Seligman. I mean, is there an accomplishment currently that you've experienced up until now that you really take a lot of pride in? Like, what are you most proud of yourself for having it done?
Um, well, before this whole COVID thing hit, I was playing pretty much every night out with different bands and different artists, or I would play out solo. I would do usually one gig a day or multiple, and uh, I I miss it, but I just was really happy that I was able to get that far where I could literally just play music every day for a living. That's all I did. 3 years ago, when I was working a couple different jobs along with music, I was just really wanted to just do music full time, and it happened. I was able to do that within that same year. So and I'm grateful for it. I don't know if what the future holds with all this craziness going on and everything, but just just that I went for it. I'm really happy that it went well, and I was able to get so much done and collaborate with so many artists during that time.
Sure, and it's not over. I mean, the road hasn't ended for you by any means. I have no doubt. But yeah, that's a lot to accomplish. I think being a professional musician in a small scene, any scene, to be able to play out as frequently as you are, it takes a lot of hard work and dedication. I know that firsthand, and yeah, I definitely think you have a lot to be proud of beyond that as well. Can you tell us about so I mean, we had Grace Stumberg on in one of our earlier episodes in our first season. She toured with Joan Baez, and I know that you did also. Could you tell us a little bit about your experience? And I mean, you were her guitar tech, right?
Right, yeah. Grace originally got the job like 8 years ago as Joan's personal assistant and guitar tech. And but then a few years after that, after she'd been working, she ended up, as you know, I mean, you had her on the show. I'm sure she talked about it. But she started singing with Joan, so she wasn't able to do singing and teching at the same time. They also kind of needed somebody who would be able to do more tech work on with the stage and the other instruments. So they just asked her who if she knew anybody, and she called me. So I'm very grateful for that. And so I worked for Joan for 3 years as her tech, and yeah, it was a really cool experience for sure. I'm so grateful for it. I got to see so much of the world in a short amount of time and meet a lot of people, a lot of amazing musicians, and just people in general. So it was a really cool experience.
What an awesome friend.
Yes.
What an awesome friend to, and nonetheless, to share an experience like that with. I mean, were you a fan of Joan Baez beforehand? Did you know much about her? Because you guys are both pretty young.
Yeah, I knew a little bit about her, and then when Grace got that job, I was already playing with Grace and her band and everything. So then I heard a lot about Joan, and I read there's a book that Joan um, wrote with an author, and there's some movies out there, and I kind of did some research because I wanted to know more about her because uh, Grace and I are pretty close, so I guess I knew a lot going into the job, but I didn't know as much before Grace started working for her.
So cool. I love it. I mean, so now you have a new project I saw called Grosh. Am I pronouncing that right? Grosh?
Grash, yeah.
Grosh. Okay. So, and it's you got the name from Grace and Josh,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Josh is your partner.
Yes.
So,
Well,
how many pieces? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
well, just in case there's confusion, we just started the band together. We're not together dating or anything. There was
Oh,
apparently
yeah.
some confusion, but yeah, it was just the two of us, and then we added on Megan and Dylan later on. So
So, what kind of music are you guys doing? It's more. I read like well, I actually listened to it. Your influences originally were like the Black Keys. I remember that being a mention. Who else? So you're taking more of like a alternative rock.
yeah, so when we started, we just wanted to do some crazy rock, make a lot of noise, just because it was so different from all the projects that we were working on, and but we didn't want to stop and find time to find a bass player and actually we just wanted to try the duo thing. So we listened to a lot of the Black Keys and Royal Blood is a duo. It's just bass and drums. So there was a
They're
bunch of
so
rock
awesome.
things.
I love
Yes,
Royal Blood.
I love them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you
So
seen them
yeah,
live?
yes, we saw them at Town Ballroom maybe a year ago or something.
Yeah,
It
Bo and
was
I got the chance to see them. I didn't really know much about them. I mean, I heard like their one song on the radio, but I started listening to them before I went, and they were so kick ass. We saw them open for oh my god, oh I'm just drawing a blank.
Clutch.
Never mind. Clutch? No, it wasn't Clutch.
Oh no, Queens of Stone Age.
Queens of the Stone Age, yeah. Oh, it was
really good
such a
too.
good show. Yeah, and it was like the day that we closed on our house, so we were like all jacked.
That's
But I'm
awesome.
sorry to interrupt. Yeah,
No, that's
cool
super cool.
combination.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Black Keys, Royal Blood. So yeah, you guys are again like a little bit of a rock edge. That's got to be so much fun for you.
Yeah, it was very different. Um, I never really played in a rock band before. It was always kind of blues based or pop or songwriter kind of stuff. So it was just fun. Everything's new. Everything's fresh, I guess. So it's fun.
Yeah, good stuff. So are you guys recording and writing currently? Like I know we're in quarantine, but have you been able to kind of do something virtually in the meantime, or get together social distance wise?
Yeah, we stay in touch all the time, and we've been able to send some writing ideas back and forth. So we've been doing some writing, and we actually did have a practice together last week for the first time, and we worked on writing then, and yeah, so we've been getting some things done. We did some videos over the time with quarantine, for we did a song called Mind Games that we recorded all separately from our homes, and then we edited into a video online, so that was cool. And we also did a music video for our song Peace of Mind. And the message of that song is "You are not alone." So we had all of our friends and fans hold up a sign saying "You are not alone," and we split screened it all together in the video. So it was really cool to see everybody's faces and have that during this time. So cool.
Sure, that's awesome. I love it, and it's a good reminder for everybody because we are all in this together, in this misery together, somewhat, right? Grace, what's next for you? Where can our audience be directed to your music? Where can they find your previous work and more information about you?
Yeah, well, I try to keep my website pretty updated, so gracelougen.com. And I'm not sure exactly what the future holds, but definitely going to be a lot of music in it, a lot of writing that I've been doing. So hopefully getting into a studio or just recording from home, whatever I got to do to get it out this year, and maybe some socially distant shows, but it'll all be on there, gracelougen.com.
I love it, Grace. Thank you so much for your time and for being a part of Afternoon Cocktail. And we're going to hear one more song from Grace towards the end of our program. This is part 2 of our second season, and we have been fortunate to pick up some additional sponsors in addition to the awesome ones that we've had. So if you are in need of accepting credit cards, credit card payments, make sure you check out Electronic Merchant Systems. The Charge Card guys will help you out. If you're looking for party planning, Miss Rebecca will help you get your party started. Jewish Senior Life, hello, Jewish Home of Rochester. We love you and thank you for your support. Salvatore's Pizzeria, if you got to order some pizza tonight or tomorrow or the rest of the week. And to the Sawmill at Blades, cheers to you guys. They have a brand new menu, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You could check that out at bladesrock.com. And they have everything from small plates to dinners and indoor and outdoor seating and a full bar. So make sure you get out there to support your local businesses. And thank you to all of you for helping propel this show. Robert Mostyn of Rock Game Development, are you with us?
How you doing?
Hey, thank you so much for being on our show.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. This is fun.
Yeah, I know, like I already said this, but I was telling you earlier. So I was so intrigued with the fact that I just needed to get a video game developer on the show, and I came across you. And I was drawn to you for a bunch of reasons. I mean, you're doing great things in our community here in Rochester. And game development, this whole quarantine, I can't tell you how much video gaming I've been doing.
Right, same.
And I mean, just to kill time. And I have a 4-year-old son, and he is very much into Minecraft right now. His whole life is Minecraft. And, I think I mentioned, for a lot of parents, I feel like gaming gets a lot of backlash for it being a negative thing. But the more I thought about it and the more research I do, and then watching my 4-year-old, like just seeing how as he's developing and engaged with playing these games, he's learned so much. It blows my mind. And I can't help but think there's so much positivity to gaming as opposed to the negative parts. So thank you for coming here to speak with us. Yeah. So before, tell us a little bit about you, your background, and the journey that led you to becoming a game developer.
Sure. So I guess I'll start with my 2 titles, if you will. My full-time job, the thing that pays the bills. My title there is Digital Games Hub Coordinator, and that's located at Magic at RIT. So Magic's kind of like a split research studio / production studio. We help students publish their projects. We do research, that sort of thing. I'll focus around digital media. And my position there is through the state grant where I'm tasked with promoting the games industry in our local region, kind of helping lift it up, basically act like a cheerleader, right? Talk about the local studios, talk about the local independent developers, talk about RIT's gaming program. And it's a great job. I act like a conduit, if you will. People kind of come to me, say, "Hey, I'm looking for VR. Or I'm looking for, educational games. Who should I talk to?" And I kind of make the connections. My second job, but I don't get paid for it, is as the co-founder and director of Rock Game Dev. which is a nonprofit I co-founded with a friend, focused on bringing together the local game development community. We have a lot of, just like a music scene, you have a lot of independent developers, right? They're not working for a studio. They're kind of doing things, moonlighting after work, working on their own games. So I kind of wanted to bring all those people together, provide a platform for them, and learn from one another. It's tough to create in a vacuum, so we like to get together and share our projects, share what we're working on, and just learn from one another. But I guess as far as my journey, I've been a musician since I was a teen. And I was a big punk rock kid, played in hardcore bands, all that crazy basement stuff. But then around 2010, I started making music called chiptune, which is, I guess you could call it a genre, but it's more about the tools you use, which are retro video game systems. So we were making music with Game Boys, with Nintendos, with Segas, basically kind of like, I guess what you would call soft hacking them to be able to play music and compose music and utilize the synthesizer chips that are actually built into these old systems. So through that, I started making music on a Game Boy. And then I want to say 2014, a local game developer reached out to me. And at this time, I wasn't making games. I was just playing them like I always had been since a kid. And he was making a retro video game. And he's like, hey, I would love for you to make the music for my game because I don't know how to make music. He was doing all the art, all the programming. And from there, I kind of got a peek about how game development works and was kind of like, oh, I've always wanted to make a game. I think I can just teach myself. So I started teaching myself how to make a game while making music for his game, and kind of hit that wall where, the same thing if you're playing music in your bedroom by yourself, you eventually like, I want to go show this off. I want to have like a creative round circle with somebody and they can kind of give me feedback. And so I started talking to this developer and he's like, why don't we just put out a Facebook event and get some people together? And that's essentially how Rock Game Dev was born. Just to kind of need to talk to other people, meet other people. And that started snowballing real quick. 2017 is when RIT was awarded this grant. They had heard about the work I was doing. They were hosting some of my events. So I applied for that position, obviously got it. And then in late 2018, we decided to move Rock Game Dev from just events to an actual downtown location. And through that, we incorporated as a nonprofit. So we now have a downtown location in the Sibley Square building. We host events, we host meetups, we play games, obviously. But yeah, it's been a fun and weird, wild journey. I would have never thought I would be doing this. And my parents were like, oh, you played video games. That was good. We hated it, but now it's good. But it's worked out wonderful.
That's so awesome. I can't think of a better job than, I mean, everything that you're doing. You're such an artist. It's so awesome. I love it.
Thanks.
You're like, I was saying, you're like the real life grandma's boy,
Right.
video game.
Yeah.
I used to like love that movie. That movie still cracks me up to this day, but I always thought like, what a cool job that must be like to create games like that.
Right.
And I'm so impressed. I've read this little fun fact this week that with RIT, you were talking about the Magic program, that RIT was actually ranked 7th out of 136 schools in the country for game development. And, it's just going back to like what I was saying to Grace earlier, like Western New York, we have so much going for us out here that like, I don't think people credit us for, and especially like gaming, I had no idea up until I started doing my research for this show. And it's so impressive. And I imagine you have a part in that with what you're doing, a very big part in that.
Yeah, I'm a little bit more community focused. I'm not a instructor for the students at RIT, but I do work with them. A lot of them get interested in the community, and kind of like, waving that RIT game development flag is a huge thing for us. We've always been rated in the top 10 schools for video game development, and that's one of my discussions often with people are like, do you know that RIT has one of the best game development programs in the country? And people are like, I didn't even know it had one. And so that's the conversation. Do you know Rochester has video game studios? So those are my typical day-to-day job conversations.
Yeah, it's really impressive. Very cool. When did you first become immersed in video games? Like, what was the game that did it for you? Or is there a game that you consider just timeless?
Yeah. So, like I guess most gamers, I started as a kid. I got an original Nintendo for Christmas and started playing that. But I was pretty young, so I was very just like reactionary to games. I didn't, any sort of narrative or storyline didn't make sense to me. I just wanted to run fast and play around in the game. But the generation of game systems after that, the Super Nintendo, the Sega, I was a little bit older. The games were getting better, and like narratives were starting to be built, which currently stories and narratives in games are like my favorite go-to thing. That's when I started to like really get into playing video games. I'm like, oh, I wanna know what happens next. I wanna know what happens next. I was a big book reader at the same time, so it just made sense that here's basically an interactive book, right? Um, the games I got really into, the genre's called RPGs or role-playing games, which are less action-based and more narrative, a lot of reading, some like maybe strategy, that sort of thing. So I just ate those up. It was a great time. Um, I would say for timeless games, I think is that what you said, right? A timeless game?
Yeah, like is there just like one game that you're like, no matter how many times you played it, how many times you beat it, like it'll just be timeless to you?
Yeah. I think and maybe to use a music analogy, there's the timeless games that everybody kind of agrees on. If we had Mario's the Beatles of video games, right? Or Sonic is the Rolling Stones, if you will. I definitely have those, but for me personally, there's a game for Super Nintendo called Chrono Trigger, which was a role-playing game where you travel time, and the artist from Dragon Ball Z worked on it, and the music is by this like renowned composer, and it's just like I hear the music and I'm just like taken back to being a kid again and playing this game. I play it every couple of years just to like experience it again. It's a timeless game to me. I'll never not think about it.
Yeah, I think about that. I hear there's have you heard of the band called Glitch
Oh yeah,
locally?
yep,
Yeah, they're like all my buddies. And
nice.
yeah, they play like some of the music they play, I just, it brings me back, and
Yep.
I love going to see them and supporting them because I'm like, yes, and they bring all the video game consoles and stuff. They got such a cool thing going. And yeah, shouty to Chaz, Tony, and Joshy. But yeah, great band. If you guys haven't checked them out, they're local to Rochester scene here, and they're a lot of fun. But yeah, Donkey Kong was my jam. Like for Donkey Kong Country 1 and 2, I loved like all the Mario's and
Yep.
Zelda. I played like the Duck Hunt, like all the old school like Super Nintendo stuff. That's what I like grew up with. I loved it. Um, Video games, I mean, they're often blamed for having negative influence on our culture and on our children. They're blamed for violence. I mean, let's talk about the positive side of it. Like I know, like I had blabbered earlier before I introduced you a little bit about it, but like I said, like I find like my son, it just blows my mind with the things that he's learned. Like part of me instinctually as a mother wants to limit his screen time and take him away from stuff, but then he'll come out with things like about farming and things. I'm like, where'd you even learn this? Like, how do you know how to build stuff out of these materials? And he'll be like Minecraft or this and that, and then he'll start talking about zombies, and then it doesn't make sense, But like, I'm really so impressed with the knowledge he's obtained just in playing games, and also the direction. We had talked a little bit about that before coming on the show. You were saying that interactive play. What was the term you used? Do you remember?
Cooperative play.
Cooperative. Yeah. Could you talk a little bit more about that, like, and how positively, like, I mean, how that takes away that negative connotation from gaming?
Yeah, so I feel like the games we often hear about are the violent ones or the competitive ones or the combination of two. Where you're competitively trying to shoot as many other real life players as you can. Obviously those games exist. Obviously they're popular, and you could talk about the whys forever. But one style of game is cooperative, and that's where you're working together to achieve something. I think you used the example of Portal. which is a great one. And I just recently played with a coworker. The idea of, overcoming obstacles and tasks and puzzles with somebody else who either, is sitting right next to you or is online, using a headset. A big thing there is communication. Like, how are you going to clearly communicate to your partner in this game how to overcome something, or how are you going to work together to overcome it? Obviously, if you're trying to compete or trying to do it all yourself, it's not going to work. And a lot of these games are designed that way. Portal specifically, you can't do it by yourself. You need that other person's help. And that's the best part. When you both figure something out, you're just like, you feel great. You feel like the smartest person in the world, and this person helped you out. Or that moment when you just hear them go, oh, I got it. It's the best feeling. It's so fun. But, we're seeing more and more cooperative games. We're seeing games that focus less on competitiveness, less on overcoming obstacles, and more about communicating. One game I point to, which is a small indie game called Kind Words. You actually the whole game, you just sit in a little bedroom, you listen to different music, and you answer letters from real players who are also playing the game. And it's become this like weird, I don't want to say weird, but alternative form of therapy. People will divulge some pretty serious things anonymously, obviously, and then other players will answer. And I thought that was a really interesting, like, here's a video game being used for positive mental health, positive communication. And it obviously, that impacted some of the industry in a certain way. So we're seeing more and more of that. How do you work with other people? How do you work with other players, not to, kill one another, but to achieve something or help one another? I also think games are a safe place to experiment, especially for kids. And when I say that, I mean, Minecraft's a perfect example. What if I build, a castle that's 1,000 blocks high, and then, throw a wooden crate off? What's going to happen? Like, that's interesting, or a good way for kids to just like be, critical thinking, creative thinking, and just trying things out. That's exploded with Minecraft. The thing kids are doing in Minecraft is insane, and I love it. And I love that game exists.
Yeah, I mean, I do too. Like I said, I mean, I don't play it. He always tries to get me to play it with him. It's something like he bonds with his dad, and this is something that, like, gaming throughout this whole thing, it's been a real bonding experience for my family. In that off time. I mean, we're both musicians, and Remy is kind of, he plays. We're hoping he'll be a musician someday, but like, he's just really into gaming right now, and at first I'm like, no, like, I want you to play drums, but like, you can't push a kid in any direction, and this is what he's gravitating towards. And it's like, as much as I want to like strip it away, I take a step back and I look at him like, wow, like, I can't believe, it just blows my mind how much he learns, all that critical thinking that you just mentioned, like him and Bo beat Portal together, like, this is a 3.5-year-old at the time,
Yeah.
like, doing critical thinking, and he's so stoked, and will explain exactly like how he beat that mission with his dad. And I'm like, it's very impressive, and I don't know, you can't negate all the positivity that comes along with it. Perma is something I had mentioned earlier. I know you said you had studied psychology at Fredonia. You're another Fredonia grad. So positive psychology, Dr. Martin Seligman, he was considered one of the founding fathers. And again, positive, so PERMA stands for positive emotions, engagement, relationships, meaning, and accomplishments. And when I think of gaming, all of those things are relatable to it. How has playing video games and developing video games positively contributed to your overall happiness and well-being?
Yeah, I would say on the playing side, the interesting part about video games compared to other media, is that it provides a challenge, and it says, okay, you can't continue until you do this thing and achieve this thing and move on. A book doesn't stop you, a movie doesn't stop you. Not that that's bad or good, but that's just by nature of design. So I think one of the things people overlook with video games is overcoming a challenge. One of the popular hardest games of all time is a game called Dark Souls. It's a whole trilogy. They're known to be excruciatingly hard. I only played the first one because that's all I could mentally handle. But the feeling of like overcoming something that you just lost and lost at again, and then achieving it, I feel like the skills I utilize to do that, patience, trying again, self-reflection, evaluating what I was doing wrong, those can be carried over into real life. Those
Sure.
skills can just be moved into real life. Um, why is it that, maybe a kid likes playing a video game? Is it the positive reinforcement they get from like an achievement or something, an accomplishment? How do we mirror that in real life? And I kind of caught on to that myself. For developing, it's just like music, man. it's like creating something, and I'm creating this thing and putting it out in the world, and I'm like so excited to share it. And it's video game for me is just like it's an culmination of all the things I've been doing. I was a graphic designer before this. Obviously, I've been a musician, as I mentioned. This is bringing all of that together, and I'm just like so excited to like, oh, I get to do the art for the game, and then I get to program it, and then I get to make the music, which is usually my favorite part. It's just so much fun to like bring that all together. I feel like it's been a little trail of experiencing and developing skills up to this point, and this is the kind of like the culmination of all of that.
Yeah, so awesome. I'm so happy that you're able to bring all those qualities about you together like that. That's special. You should be count yourself to be very very blessed.
Very much so. Very much so.
Yeah. So, I mean, congratulations about Rock Game Dev. I know you guys just moved into the Sibley building. Can you tell us? I mean, I know you told us a little bit about it, but what's your ultimate goal? Like, where would you like to see that all go in the future?
Yeah. In a way, we're kind of figuring that out right now. We started as just events, meetups, workshops, socials, free and open to the community, that sort of thing. But there are other spaces like Rock Game Dev that had existed longer than we have. And so we're kind of, in a way, mirroring those efforts. But, there's a lot of different things it could become. We could be a small publishing studio. We could be more of a collective. We're really looking into that. One of the things that's been thrown out a lot now in the games industry is as a game label, almost like a small, indie label would work. And that's something we're kind of open to exploring. But at the heart of it, it's bringing together and providing a platform for game developers in Rochester, providing opportunities. I obviously hear about a lot of job opportunities. I direct those right back to the community, providing students a way to meet professionals that are working in an industry and vice versa. It's really about me kind of being the person behind the curtains, making connections, and then showcasing everybody else's work. That's at the heart of it. I want to show off the people who are doing, work that's way better than mine, and just kind of like provide them with a platform to get, exposure and get noticed locally.
Well, I wish you the best of luck on your journey. So exciting, and thank you for bringing such a positive light to gaming in our city of Rochester here. And yeah, where can our audience, be directed to Rock Game Dev, and where can they find out a little bit more about you?
Sure. So, well, first off, thank you so much for having me on. So Rock Game Dev is ROC Game Dev on Twitter at ROC Game Dev. So you can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Instagram. We have our website. Is this rockgamedev.com. Myself, you can find me. BC Likes You is the moniker I use online. I use it across all platforms. So Twitter, Instagram are the two that I'm most active on. So yeah, letter B, letter C, BC Likes You. But yeah, feel free to reach out. Feel free to contact me there. I'm happy to talk about games. Happy to make introductions. And please come to a Rock Game Dev event. A lot of them are free. A lot of them are open to the public. We have people who show up who don't even make games, and they're just like, I just want to play all y'all's games. I just want to play people's games and give feedback, which is the best. I love those people. So, please engage with us. Please come hang out. We'll just talk about video games.
Sounds awesome. Well, good luck to you, Robert. I really hope to meet you in life soon, and when all this craziness ends. And yeah, best wishes to you. I got to bring Grace back to close us out with one more song. Grace, what are you going to play for us?
This is a song called April Sun. It's about hope and patience. So.
Awesome.
That's a
Take
good
it away.
for today. The April sun rarely shines like opportunity in our lives, but when it cuts through the clouds, it gives us hope. Spring rain won't last forever. The darkened sky will blow over. You can't always see what is to come, but there's promise in the April sun. Yeah, I won't give up on time. Yeah, 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 I won't give up on time. Cut back down to earth. All the dead got rid of first. Things have to be broken before we can start to grow. Deep wounds like anchors hold onto everything we want to let go. One day they will break away, but it may take a while to heal. Yeah, I won't give up on time. Yeah, 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 I won't give up on time. Yeah, I won't give up on time. Yeah, 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 I won't give up on time. Yeah, I won't give up on time. Yeah, 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 I won't give up on time.
Awesome. Cheers to Miss Grace Lougen and to Robert Mostyn of Rock Game Dev. You guys, may you continue to flourish and thrive in your communities and in your businesses. Thank you for being on our show. Today's theme was Flourish. And when I think about flourishing, to me, it's all about the practice of constant improvement. Those who flourish are those who constantly are finding ways to develop, to improve, and to grow. They don't settle for the status quo. They find out what they need to know, what they need to do, and they work hard to acquire the knowledge and skills necessary to get them where they want to go. If we want to flourish, we must open ourselves up to experiencing all the good that life has to offer. Commit to experiencing joy, to find a meaning and purpose in your life. Offer yourself what you need to remain healthy and happy. The fact of the matter is, we cannot flourish if we do not take the time to take care of ourselves and consciously sustain our own ability to flourish. Thank you to today's show sponsors. We have Electronic Merchant Systems, Untamed Events, Jewish Senior Living, Salvatore's Pizzeria, Diva, Naturals, and also to the Sawmills at Blades. Make sure you check out Grace and Robert on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I believe they're on all three of those channels and at their websites, which we posted earlier. And thank you for your support. Shout out to Northwestern Mutual's James Farley, to Maiden Voyage Studios in Fairport, New York, and also to the Green Room Recording Studio in Rochester, New York. You guys have a great day. We'll be back this Wednesday at 1 p.m. with a brand new show and some also extremely amazing talent. Thank you guys. Have a great day. Take care.